Welcome, guys, to another episode. And I have a very special guest, and it's Aimon, aka PapaFit. And he's one of the people that I know for a long time now, and actually met him in person as well. And yeah, Aimon, do you want to just give a quick intro to who you are and what you do?
Sure. So my name's Aimon Sabawi. I'm a teacher. I'm working out of Dubai. I do a little bit of social media stuff on the side. Obviously, a content creator in the fitness space. Done a little bit of acting, so I'm a versatile man. It was nice meeting you in Dubai, although the gym we worked out together burned down since then, so
Yeah.
it's no longer up and running. But yeah, you're the first person I think I met through TikTok, which is great. But
Uh,
underwent a really big and significant body transformation. So I've lost around 70 kilograms over the last 10, 11 years. And it's completely changed my life. So I'm obsessed with fitness. It's, a big passion of mine, and it's starting to become almost like a second hustle for me too. It's turning into a profession. But it's because of this, I know it's a very personal experience, and everyone have different approaches, different triggers, different ways of achieving their goals. So I just like to share. I think it's the teacher in me. Just everything I learn and
mm,
come across, share it with as many people as possible. Maybe 1 out of 10 things I say are helpful, but that's still, a nugget that someone can carry with them.
yeah. And honestly, I want to even show some images of your transformation because it's truly inspiring. From going from like a very overweight to very fit, and I can resonate to that myself because when I was also younger, I was obese, and then I had a transformation as well. So I can resonate with you there, and that's what I wanted to talk to you about. What was your turning point that made you realize like I have to start trying to lose weight?
Um, you know what? Can I give you a better question? Because I
Mm,
think something important to ask everyone is, how did you get to that point? Before, why did you then change your mindset and realize that you had to become a new person? Because it's not normal. The size I was before, and as you mentioned, you'll probably share some pictures. Um, that's not like just a lazy person or lack of discipline. That's a sickness. I mean, I was massive. I was dying. Um, so a lot of times understanding a little bit how and why you got there supports the process of then completely changing and improving your habits so that you never go back again. Because I'll tell you now, heavy people are really good at losing weight. I mean, if you see someone walking around with a lot of weight, they've probably lost more weight than lean people. The problem isn't the weight loss. The problem is the cycle. So it's losing 5 kilograms, gaining another six, losing 10, going back at 20. It's the yo yoing, not knowing how to control themselves. So the emotional side of things is really the issue. So for me, a lot of it was like you can trace it back to my childhood. I used to have a birthmark growing up on my face, and I was bullied a lot because of that. So in England, particularly where one of the places I grew up in, they used to call me shit face. So I hope that doesn't break my fast saying that. But
no, it doesn't.
so literally, they because it looked like a piece of shit on my face, and they had this game where they would just try and beat the shit off of my face, and that was a thing. They would just keep punching me in the same spot over and over again. It was horrible. So obviously, a lot of you develop a complex over your appearance and things like that over time. So I don't think I've ever actually shared that story publicly with people. So I think at that point is when I started to see a lot of weight gain, and I started to become very insecure. And then there was a positive side effect with the weight gain. I got bigger, and people stopped beating me up because I was huge. Um, so I think that the realizing that there's an emotional source to your issues of getting that big, it's not just like a little bit of weight on. I was massive. I was huge. I was in pain all the time. I wasn't functioning properly yet. I wasn't making any change. So it took something very powerful and very emotional for me to go back. It was a very specific event. Um, when I got married, uh, we were only, I think, about 6, 7 months into the marriage. I was working with a colleague, and him and his wife were struggling having babies. So he went and got himself checked out and realized that he had a low sperm count. So just out of curiosity, I was like, oh, maybe I should check myself. I mean, we were still newlyweds. We weren't planning on having kids anytime soon. Um, but it was just, I was inspired by his journey. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't even realize it was that big of a deal. Normally you assume like childbearing issues are more on the women's side. And you don't often think of the guy. So I went there on a whim, and then it turns out I had a severe issue, and I wasn't expecting it. I'm from a large family. I'm the tallest in my family. I have a beard. I have the deepest voice. Like I never thought that I'd have issues when it came to like testosterone and things like that. It just came out of nowhere, and uh, and the doctor pretty much told me there was very very small chance that I could ever have children naturally. That hit me. So I've had threats of, oh, you're gonna get diabetes, you have high blood pressure. I told you I was in pain all the time, my joints hurt. None of that ever mattered. I'd just be like, whatever, who cares? We all die, whatever. But the minute they told me that, by the way, your weight might be a significant contributor to you never having a child, that was my wake up call. And you can see, the name of my brand and my social media account. I mean, what is it? What do I go by? Online. It's Papa, right? That was such an important thing to me. I've been raised carefully by my dad to be a father. Everything he taught me, most of my hobbies, most of my, I mean, that's my whole life. I think a lot of Arab men can probably, it resonates with them, where it's such an important thing to be a father and to be a. So that was my wake up call. Things go through your mind when you hear you might not have kids. Should I leave my wife? I mean, poor thing, like let her go marry some other guy so she can have a family, and like all these crazy thoughts come through. But luckily, I have a good partner, and we have faith. And she said, "No, come on, pray, make dua, make changes. Let's do this." Two, and another one on the way. Alhamdulillah. See, yeah. So and I was almost yelling to my wife. I was like, it's almost statistically impossible. Like we'll never have like it's impossible. It's scientifically like very very low chance. And she said, "No, trust me. We'll just be patient." And yeah, it's true. I mean, you just need one shot really to for things to happen, and then obviously, the blessing from Allah or from God. So, but I contribute 100% of any chance from shifting from this excessively obese person into a relatively fit person. And it came in phases. I didn't necessarily do it the healthiest way or the right way initially, but I figured things out over the years. And now I'm at the point where I can actually help, and I do support people with weight loss. But that took a long time because it seems obvious, but it's not. There's a lot of nuances, and there's a lot of smaller details that can help support the journey and make it easier and make it more effective.
I mean, with your weight loss journey, we all go through really, really hard points. Like some days we just sit at night and just when we're trying to sleep, we're just so hungry and we just our desires overcome us and we just want to eat again. So I want to ask, what is the hardest point of the weight loss journey for you? When was it, and what is there a specific scenario where you felt that was the hardest point in your weight loss journey?
I'd say I had a bit of an unfair advantage because I was so driven by this horrible news. It helped a lot. I think that there are two key components to successfully push through a weight loss journey. Because I'd lost weight before, by the way. I mean, I'd done a couple mini transformations throughout my life, but I always went back again. So, number one, which was the thing that came very easily to me, is having a strong anchor, a real deep reason why you're going to change yourself. You need to find that anchor. And sometimes you have to dig a little deeper on the surface. I think so. The younger guys, maybe they're a little bit insecure or whatever, they're worried about getting married one day and how people, think and view them. And that's too superficial, though. That only gets you so far, because you wanting to look good will get you through the first couple weeks. But then all of a sudden, the social aspects of eating, the endorphins and things you get from having junk food, and it'll take over that feeling of, oh, it'd be kind of nice to look good. So you need to find an anchor, something that keeps you deeper. So you need to somehow create that. There's a lot of actual techniques in life coaching and stuff like that. We can help people develop that, where it's even like, so if you struggle to get that motivation, they call things like future pacing, is one technique where you can look at yourself in the future and then say, okay,
Yeah,
you're in the future, you've reached your goal, or you haven't reached your goal. What would you tell yourself now? And sometimes it can be very profound. Like you look back at yourself and you're like, you idiot, you're young, you have time. You have a chance right now to change your life. You failed. Like, why didn't you make that change? So if you're talking to yourself as if you're from the future, coming back to the past, telling you at this moment what to do, that's such a strong, powerful conversation with yourself. I know it sounds kind of
yeah,
strange, but little things like that, where you're just reminding yourself of the bigger picture, like what will come with weight loss. So for me, it wasn't just looking good. You have no idea how my life changed. So I went from having the chance of 0 children and pretty much not knowing what to live for to now, alhamdulillah, having 3 kids. My employment conditions improved. Like, I'm sorry, but your performance is better when you're healthier, when you're fitter. Number one, people naturally they'll like you better. It's human nature. If you're more attractive, if you're confident, if you're strong, shoulders back, and
exactly.
people treat you differently. Number two, you
Improves
physically you're
relationship.
moving faster, you work better, you're waking up earlier, you're more efficient, and then that consistency bleeds over into other parts of your life. If you're a savage on your diet and in the gym, you're going to be a savage at your job. You're going to be a savage in your relationships. You're going to be a savage in your religion. You're going to want to just destroy and beat everything. And that's a beautiful side effect of health, which is why I think it's such a critical part of us. And even in Islam, it's important to be strong and to be healthy and to continually improve. Why? Because it'll help you with your religion, with your family, with your job, with everything else.
That
So
is
that mental mindset. Number two, then, is the habits. Okay. Don't set yourself up for failure. So um, you need to identify what are your main triggers and then don't be an idiot. So, for example, if junk food is a big problem for you, you probably shouldn't be hanging out around the food court. You probably shouldn't be going through drive-throughs at night. You can't set yourself up for failure. You got to empty your cabinets. If moderation is your problem, find a plan that. So that's still an issue for me. I still have a huge appetite. So I tend to go more to the low carb style diets usually because that's where you have to worry a little bit less about volume because high protein, low carb foods, they're very filling. You don't even have to really count calories a lot of times. You get that nice stuffed full feeling. So that works for me because I still haven't learned that I had a disease and it's still I'm still learning how to deal with that even 12 years later. So knowing yourself and then making decisions. So if being up late at night and snacking is a horrible thing, guess what? Go to bed earlier. If you're asleep, you're not going to go order takeout, right? You shouldn't be, and then that makes the rest of your life better because now you're waking up earlier. And guess what? You're going to the gym and it's less busy. So you're less likely to quit going to the gym. You're going to do your homework in the morning. It's a knock on effect. So make conscious decisions that set you up to succeed. Don't do things that will destroy and sabotage your diet.
yeah. I definitely agree there. I think having the routine in your daily life makes the biggest difference. And like you said as well, making things less visible to you, like the junk food that you're way more likely to eat or overeat, having like doing the letting it in front of you at all times. Okay, that would just make you yeah, increase your temptations, and it's very easy for humans to give up on their temptations. It's a human nature thing. So don't put yourself in that position, like you said in the first place.
I mean,
Yeah,
there
yeah,
are other things that have helped along the way. I don't think they're long term sustainable, but a lot of the copycat recipes online, I find them helpful. Where you can find ways of dressing up some of the junk foods that you like and making them a little bit more healthy, where they won't completely derail a diet. But I think that's a temporary fix, though. It can lead to a bad road, and then often it leads to really low fat diets which can sometimes be dangerous in other ways because of the hormonal implications. And
Yeah.
but I mean, there are different strategies and approaches, and I sometimes I'll incorporate them. I think something that helps me is that I don't follow. It's not like a religion for me. I don't follow like one strategy. Depending on the
Mm,
circumstances, I'll change it up. So if Eid is coming up, things like that, where there's holidays or there's a wedding, or I'm not going to be that guy that destroys it and ruins the mood for everyone. And
yeah.
unless I have like a very specific goal, like if you're trying to make weight for a competition or something, okay, then you might have to be a little bit, uh, uh, you know, um, that kind of guy,
Exactly.
where he's like, sorry, I'm not gonna eat, enjoy this. But if literally it's just for your own personal goals or fitness, you work around it. Find a way. You can skip a meal in the morning. You can do a little bit of extra steps. You can find ways. I like intermittent fasting personally. Like I said, I'll go through low carb cleanup periods where I've even done carnivore diet where I've done like zero carbs for just 5 or 6 days. Fix my
Mm,
sleeping. Fix my your taste buds improve. Like when you don't eat different variety of foods, your tongue gets like stronger, and it's really weird actually. Like fruit and vegetables taste so delicious after a carnivore diet. So like, but I'll rotate through. Then sometimes calorie counting. Like you just go through the cycle, and then when I'm kind of back on track, intuitive eating. I'll just don't eat like a jerk, for a while. And then
yeah.
when I start slipping off again, I go back. So it doesn't, also, that's, I think, another big message I want to share. It doesn't have to be like one single solution. It's okay to have like a cycle. And that when you're reaching certain red lines, whether you put like a weight, like, okay, if I'm above 90 kg, I need to start waking up, or just how you feel or how your clothes fit. It's good to have some kind of trigger where you're like, okay, I need to get back. That also helps with the major swings because you're gonna have, life is like that. There's times you're busy. I mean, when I have kids, I'm not sleeping that much. Young children in the house. I might not be allowed to go to the gym because now with three, there's going to be definitely times, but that doesn't mean that you just give up. Do some push-ups with your kid on your back. There's zero excuse. We have everything we
Exactly.
need to be healthy.
Yeah, like I see that you set up like gym equipment at home, so you don't have to go to the gym always. So if you need to get your
Yeah,
workout in, you get your workout in. There are no
yeah. You
excuses there.
see,
Like,
see that behind there. So COVID helped with a lot of
yeah,
that though because we were sort of forced out of the gym. Oh, another thing I do, I talked about this in another podcast, I think, but you see, those are my heroes back there. I know the light, but sometimes
yeah,
I'll have conversations with those guys, and like just think of something like who do you want to be like? Who do you want to emulate? What kind of person are you trying? What goal are you trying to achieve? Ask that person what would they do in this situation. So even if it's not fitness related, if it's like work related, or so like Muhammad Ali, Habib, these guys are warriors. Okay, what would he pick for his lunch today? Habib, what do you want for lunch today? Are you gonna have this nasty takeout? Or are you gonna have a really good steak with some vegetables on the steak? All right, let's do the steak. Like it really does help. It just because
yeah.
if you act like Habib long enough, you
Mm,
will become Habib. Like you will eventually be that person.
yeah,
And people think
that's
it's the
true.
other way around. They think when you're fit, you start doing fit things. No, when you're unfit, those habits of the fit people will turn you into a fit person.
Mm,
Should I wake up early or should I sleep in? No, wake up early, go for a run. Should I do this? Should I do that? It's so obvious when you think of it that way, and it helps you keep on track. So I'll sometimes literally I'll just turn around and be like, "What do you think, guys? Should I give up today? Should I tap out?" Khabib's never tapped in his life. No, I'm not tapping out. We're gonna keep going.
yeah, I think having that role model, it's actually a psychological tactic as well. Like, get it tapping into that. Maybe Papa Fit has a different identity, where he's like the savage, fit guy who's like he'll never stop. He taps into that personality, that identity. So whenever he needs that person, and it works for them. You get what you need to get done, and it just counts in your reps of being consistent. Um,
Exactly.
I love that, and I want to get into you were mentioning about like processed foods or the different diets, and I think if anyone looks at your page, they're gonna see that you love um, beef jerky and you love processed meat, and we know processed meat isn't the healthiest option, but I think you're expert enough to know how much processed food is enough, is a healthy limit, and how much is too much. So, and that's what I want to ask you about.
It's it's challenging because I think the most important thing in life, if you are obese, lose weight. I don't care how you do it. That is the most critical thing. And I personally experienced that. So, like, so many, almost like 80% of the issues I had in life went away when I went from being extremely overweight to being fit. So, processed tools, sometimes it can be a method or one tool in the box to help you get there. There are implications to healthy eating. Some people don't have the time, they don't have the knowledge or resources to cook their own food initially. Processed foods are just one way of going about it, and they can help. So I show people some options they have, because there are a lot of other people like me where they're busy dads and they don't always have time to go after the best. Now, in an ideal world, you would never touch it because they're more expensive. There could be long-term implications, although there's still a lot of research, I think, out there. I mean, I see people doing so many things that are way more harmful than eating processed foods and get no flack. So there's people out there doing drugs and alcohol and like, and for some
Exactly.
reason that gets a pass. And then somebody's eating, whatever, like turkey bacon, and they're like, "Oh my God, you're evil and you're gonna die." I'm like, dude, man, there's a guy shooting up heroin and he lived to like 80. Like, I think I'll be okay for now.
Yeah.
Because what's the alternative? Think about that. That's always my argument too. Like, yes, this is processed, but it's not like it's stopping me from eating whole foods. What I would have done is gone and eaten other junk foods that are even worse. That's the thing. Like, when you're talking to people who are on a weight loss journey, you can't speak to them so logically and so rationally because they're not at that place yet. They're not. So it's you're putting too much pressure on them from day one. Um, so the alternative is turkey bacon or M&Ms. So not turkey bacon or chicken and salad. So if it
Yeah.
stops them from eating the M&Ms, that's a step in the right direction.
Doesn't matter.
Now, what I found is that you naturally, when you start getting closer to your goals, you want to get better at it because it's not enough now. It's like, okay, now I look okay. Now I want to feel better. Now I want to be stronger. And then all of a sudden you realize, okay, these processed foods aren't that helpful for that. How do I
Mm,
get better? How do I feel better? How do I get stronger? So it's almost a natural progression.
mm,
So I think
yeah.
that's where you have to make the differentiation. So um, obviously, and everything should be in moderation. So 80% of your diet ideally should be whole foods. So by whole foods, I'm talking about like a piece of meat, a piece of fruit, a piece of vegetable. It should be a one ingredient type of thing.
Mm,
And by the way, cooking isn't actually that hard when you start getting into it. So there's so many recipes where, like, I mean, if you have an air fryer, it takes you 30 seconds to season a steak, and then you walk away. I mean, it turns off on its own. You don't even have to worry about it burning.
yeah.
You can leave, go play a video game, whatever, go pray, go, come back, and it had already turned itself off. You got a piece of beautiful steak ready to go. I mean, so there are ways, and that's where I wish I could incorporate a little more of that, but I don't have a tidy kitchen, and it's always noisy and hectic. Probably you see my kids running around in some of my videos. Like, that's, I don't have that privilege, but showing people how to cook basic things like eggs, come on, eggs are beautiful and they're very easy. So there are a lot of ways of encouraging that, but I don't like people who are so against processed foods because they've helped me and they still do help me. Like, okay,
Yeah.
I look at a lot of times I look also for like value for money protein sources, right? Well, I'm sorry, but there's no better value for money than eggs, right? I just mentioned it.
Yeah.
3 eggs has around 18 grams of protein. It's under $1 here. It's like for it's 18 dirhams in the UAE for a 30 pack. I mean, that's ridiculously cheap. So eggs, you think, okay, they're perfect. They've got vitamins, they got all this stuff. But if you're in the car on the road, okay, and you're all of a sudden your blood sugar drops, so you're really hungry, or guess what? You're not going to be able to like quickly boil some eggs and, so there are times in life where you need like a convenient go-to. So that's where like a protein bar, it's a convenient source. So the mathematics doesn't always add up in weight loss. So it's way cheaper and way better protein and way better macros eating 3 eggs. But it's physically
or a beef
impossible to
jerky.
eat those eggs if you're on the road. So guess what? Now you need to understand how to read labels and figure out, okay, there's this protein bar. Well, not all protein bars are created equal. Some of them have okay macros. Some of them you might as well eat a Snicker bar. So
Yeah.
this is real life. Like, so yes, maybe you should have thought ahead. Maybe you should make sure that you're not caught out, but we get caught out. This is life. So in those circumstances, it's okay to lean on some processed food, beef jerky, stuff like that, to get you through until you can get a proper meal. Don't villainize it, man. It's food. It's food.
Yeah.
Okay. As long as it's halal.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I go with the saying, and I think I apply this to anything. Having too much of anything is bad for you, no matter what it is. You know you can die from drinking too much water, and especially in Ramadan, if you suddenly start drinking so much water either before or after training and you didn't eat anything, there's a big chance that you could die from that, because you're losing electrolytes like crazy. And it applies to anything. Too much vegetables, too much fruit, too much meat, anything you have with over the amount that you need is bad for you. And I think the same applies to processed and junk food.
Wasat, yeah. Keep it in the middle, you know.
Exactly, exactly. And talking about wasat and balancing, uh, let us know how is it you balance a nine to five job, teaching, and spending time with your family and being fit, also creating content as well. How do you keep all of that in balance every day?
Okay. It's a lot of it is just being really efficient and multitasking. So, for example, most of the content I create, I don't know if you notice. So I have a few things in my life. My fitness is very important to me. My faith, my family. So, and then I love content creation. That's the content creation is also a side passion of mine, and something that's accidentally kind of grown actually. So I was doing it just for fun, and it's grown very slowly. I mean, I'm not putting a huge amount of effort into it, but I don't mind because it's been authentic and it's been the way I want to do it. I'm not having to be fake or having to. I probably could have blown up by now if I, you know, took some different approaches. But so I put them all together. So for example, what did I just mention? Health, family, religion, content creation. So I can film a video incorporating my children in it and my faith and my all at the same. I can check every single box at the same time, and I'm accomplishing it. So, for example, like once I did a workout where I was pretending like I was praying, and then I was showing. So I was low key like teaching people about movement and calories and things like that, but I was doing it in kind of a funny way, and I was showing people that I care about religion, and I was giving a subliminal message. I wasn't coming out saying everybody go pray, do all this. No, it was very subtle, very. So you find ways of doing things where you're combining things together. So I try and bring my kids with me, on walks. So that's my cardio done, and I'm seeing my children, and I'm giving my wife a break. Boom. I'm letting them cook with me. So I'm cooking healthy food. I'm spending family time with my children, and then sometimes I can get footage and content from that too. You see how like you're finding ways of clubbing things together. And then you just really have to be honest with yourself when you're wasting time. So you say you don't have time to do things, but do you really not have time? Like, do you really like,
Yeah.
what have you done today? So if you actually like, if there was a camera looking at you, and recording you the whole time like a creepy reality show, I'm sure you would find hours and hours and hours of wasted time. So you just have to be very cognizant and then be honest with yourself and then try and reallocate that time properly. And I don't mean never ever watch TV or never ever have fun. No, but like there's a time and a place, like, and then schedule things in. So if you have a schedule, you're way more likely to hit it. I think you talk a lot about this too, Kareem.
Yeah,
Like,
time blocking.
yeah, just if you simply just like pencil it in, you're way more likely to get it done. And then it makes more sense when it's there in front of you on paper. So, I mean, I'm a morning person. So for me, like I can knock a lot of that stuff out in the morning. So like workouts, things like that, I can get those done in the mornings. Um, my kids are morning people too, unfortunately. So I've lost some of it, but then I can have dad time in the mornings too. And then so that's it. You just need to make sure you're prioritizing correctly. Be honest with yourself. If there's anything that you can get rid of that isn't helpful, get rid of it. And then reassess constantly. It's like, because life is changing. So I'm sure when baby 3 comes, I'm gonna have to like rejig the whole system.
Yeah.
Don't keep acting like you're a bachelor when you get married and have kids, and you can't still be playing video games 24 hours a day. Completely different scenario.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
I club them together, and that helps a lot. Like, just be efficient, and then you have fun with it. But what is your goal? Like, I have to remind myself this time, because I'd say the only thing that hasn't really taken off for me, and like one of my personal goals, is like I haven't launched a crazy big successful business yet.
Mm.
But I have to remember, is that really my, like, I think I've actually achieved pretty much, alhamdulillah, all of my main goals. I wanted to have a family, I have a roof over my head, I have food, I'm healthy, like I have a job. Like I think that's it. Like even if I didn't go in it, like that was my goal. So if I get an amazing business and then I lose my family, I've lost. So that's it. Yeah, I hope there were a couple tips in there that can be actionable by people. Another thing I found helpful actually to the kids: clean up your social media feed. Um, keep people around in your social media that you want to emulate, that you want to be like. Just by that alone, having the algorithm set correctly, it really does help, because you don't want this negativity around you constantly popping up. You don't want people that don't have the same goals as you do. So that helps a lot, because community. I mean, it does take a community or a village to raise people, and that's what,
Mm.
like you yourself. So I mean, I've made friends through social media. I've met people that have very similar goals, passions, and it's amazing. And then I learn from you guys too. I mean, so much of what I'm learning from TikTok too. I'm not just sharing. And
Yeah.
that's so beautiful. Like I'm constantly, and I don't mind, by the way. It's okay to change your mind or disagree, or that's all part of the process too. So I love it. Like,
Yeah.
there are times where I go back and reflect on things and say, yeah, maybe that's not the same, or that's no longer valid. And that's okay.
That's 100% true. Like there are things that I learn when I watch your videos as well. Like I'm like wow, because I really think not one person can know everything, and that's the beauty of it. That we need each other to learn stuff. There's so much knowledge out there that it's each person can take the knowledge and teach it to others in a more comprehensible way, and that's the beauty of it, to be honest. And another thing about scheduling, before we start wrapping things up, one of the earliest things that gave me like a huge epiphany, and this we can give this like a vibe for Ramadan as well, is when I started praying each prayer at its time. Like for example, like Fajr and Dhuhr and Asr. And if you're non-Muslim, you can search up when the timings are. But I found that when you do that, it organizes your day in such an amazing manner. For example, if you wake up at 5 a.m., which most big athletes do now, and where everyone's trying to emulate them as well, well, guess what? Muslims have been doing this for centuries. Also, I've been doing this to wake up for Fajr at 5 a.m. and they have like 6, 7 hours until their next prayer. That's your focus time block where you do the hardest part of your day. And then after Dhuhr, then you have another time block to do something important. Then after us, an important time block. And just scheduling your day with those time blocks is just beautiful. And that's something, when I started viewing it from that side, I just much better organizing my time.
I think that's a beautiful point you just made, and it also reminds me of a few other things. So in the military, for example, in the U.S., right, where I came from, I wasn't in the military, but one of the main things that they push on new recruits is they have to make their bed first thing in the morning. It's having
True.
that easy win, and it sets the tone for the rest of the day. You've accomplished something, and everything else is downhill. And I think this concept of like waking up early, praying Fajr, it has that similar effect where it's like no matter what, you've done something already. Like you've just woken up and you've already checked something off on your box. So that I think that's a very strong factor there to help you continue to succeed throughout the day. Number two, the procrastination effect, where like you don't even realize sometimes when you're procrastinating that you're like it's heavy on you and it's slowing you down or it's bothering you, and
Mm,
you're not always thinking about it or aware of it. So, but when you start getting things done immediately and on time, like you feel light, you feel like, man, like I'm not stressed. I can do so much more. And I think
yeah.
praying on time. So like even if you're still praying the 5 prayers and not missing them, I think that indirectly you feel stressed or you're slowing down because you know that you have something to do. It's on your mind. So now your mind isn't focusing on what you're currently doing. So I think that's great, Kareem. Like what you're describing there, probably it so many benefits came out of that. I love it. I'm on a prayer group now. Funny enough, through some TikTok fellows who I met, they created a prayer group where everyone reminds each other, Salat, hey, Dhuhr. And it's not just about like, okay, pray 5 times a day, but it's also pray on time. Because
Yeah.
some people were struggling even praying. So for them, it's just, hey, guys, come on. It's not too late. Go ahead, make up your Salah you missed. For those of us who do pray 5 times a day, it's more about, okay, pray right now. Come on, don't delay. Yalla, Asr just came. Let's get it done.
Yeah.
And it's very helpful. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah. And just before we wrap everything, I want to let everyone know where we can find you, where we can find your work and what you do.
Sure. So PapaFitUAE is my handle on all social media. So I've got a few episodes of podcasts on YouTube. I'm still trying to improve those a bit. TikTok is probably my biggest account. Instagram. I also have links. I do a little bit of coaching on the side. It's a very, very small intake. It's something where like I don't like to have too many clients. Number one, because I have side job. You know, I have a full time job. I have kids, things like that. And I just found it's a better experience where you know you're giving someone your full attention when you're not having like hundreds of clients at the same time. And so
Yeah.
there's links for that if anyone's interested in coaching. But at the end of the day, like there's so much free information out there. Just look at Kareem's page, man. Like you know, um, but some people do like to have the accountability, someone there to support them, or someone to save them the time of having to figure it out. So for that, you know,
Exactly.
it does help often to have an online coach, but it just depends on your needs. So under any of my social media accounts, you'll find my link tree link there. But I appreciate it, man, and I learned so much, you know, from your side. I mean, especially on the weightlifting and the technique, like that's something where I lack. And just get out there, guys. Meet people like Kareem and learn. And it's not just about your fitness and about your physique. It'll improve everything else in your life. Trust me.
That's true. And I appreciate that. I appreciate you a lot. And thank you so much for coming on as well. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, and
Yeah,
I hope I see you soon again on the pod. We talk about more topics as well.
definitely. Yeah. If anything else comes up, more than happy to join in. Maybe we'll meet up in Masr one day.
You know, inshallah, you'll be welcome here. Yeah, and
Inshallah.
inshallah, if I come to Dubai, I'll
No,
100%
definitely.
have the chance to see you.
Athlete's kitchen on me, huh?
Yeah, love that.